All right. Hey, everyone. I am glad you're here watching this video because today I have a very special guest, a very special business partner in my business. After going through a lot of headaches of finding the right loan servicing company, I was referred. And I actually think the best ways to get business and contacts is through referrals. So I was referred to Madison Management Company, but more importantly, through what I got from a referral was this gal we have here on the video today, who I get to introduce to you. And I've known her for a few years. I've been doing a few loans through their organization and still transitioning some loans over to them. But I wanted you to hear from their experience because I haven't had a lot of I've had bad experiences, but I wanted to share with you the good experiences and give you a point of contact, someone that you can talk to. So today, I want to introduce you to Shante. Shante, thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Great. So I wanted you to kick it off. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how you got started in the note business, by the way, because a lot of people, come into this business all different kinds of ways.
It's funny. So I've been here with Madison Management Services for just over 5 years now. I started when I was 20.
Wow.
To be honest with you, the way I got into it is that I had my son at 19 and I stayed home for a year. And I was like, I am not cut out to be a stay-at-home mom. I don't knock anybody who is, but my brain felt like it was going to mush and I wanted to go back to work. So once my son turned 1, I wanted to go back, but I had never left him alone, like more than 2 hours. So I was nervous and I wanted to find a job close to home. Really doing anything. I didn't have, anything I was looking for. I've kind of worked all over the place. I have a family that runs their own businesses. I didn't want to work with them. And I came across an administrative assistant position for Madison Management. And that's how I started. And it was a lot to learn. I think the first few weeks I came home with headaches. But since then, I kind of just been nosy. And, I kind of watched Kevin, the president, Kevin Cordell. He started off as an investor. So I think his background a little bit is what makes Madison a little bit different from other service companies. He started off just like everybody else who invests in notes and then realized that he wanted to service his own loans and realized he needed a servicing license and things like that, and then started servicing for other people. So I've been a part of the team for the past 5 years now and just kind of learned everything I know through Kevin.
Right. That's great. Yeah. So you actually didn't know anything about coming into the business of notes.
I knew nothing about mortgages. I still don't even have a mortgage myself. These borrowers scare me into buying a home. But I knew nothing outside of the fact that it works kind of like a car. If you don't pay your car payment, it gets repossessed. If you don't pay your mortgage payment, you get foreclosed. Right. I didn't know there was anything else. I didn't know the secondary market. I just thought it was banks and banks only, like Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase. That's all I thought.
Right.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. And actually, I was just explaining this to a client of mine where he didn't know the process of the owner financing model, where does the borrower send their payment? And I said, well, do you currently have a mortgage? And he said, yeah. I said, is the address, because he was mailing checks. I'm like, is the address you mail your check to the same of the branch you go to? And he said, no. I said, exactly. It's probably some processing company somewhere. Yeah, it's the same thing. So it sounds like to me, one, that, the founder of the company at Madison not only has investing experience, so he knows he's got that experience and knows the background of it. So he's kind of custom made it for other investors as well.
Yep. He understands the small investors. He was one of them. He was just like everybody else who was calling, trying to bid on notes, sitting on webinars, watching videos, going to servicing events, networking events. He was just like everyone else that actually brings their loans here. So he kind of understands, both the borrower side, dealing with borrowers because he had to do it, as well as the investing side. And he just kind of liked working out on his own. He always tries to do a win-win solution. And that's kind of how our entire team was trained, treat everyone with dignity and respect. You got to remember that these are people's homes. They raise their children in these homes. Things do happen. So we, I feel like we have a special place that's a little bit different from other servicers just because Kevin's had that one-on-one experience with, being an investor. So we understand investor frustrations and struggles and questions and, we see it all the time, and our job is to be here to help. And that's, my job specifically. I deal with all of the clients that come in, and all borrowers. I would cry every time people call hysterical. I don't have the stomach to deal with it.
That's not an easy part. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about your role and who do you work with? If someone watching this video is they're gonna get there's a link in the description. They call Madison, walk them through that process.
So in order for any investor who is purchasing notes, whether they're first lien, second liens, performing, non-performing, you need a servicer. That's just point blank. Everyone thinks they don't. You do. There's perks to having a servicer, and I'll go into that a little bit later. But you have to go through me here at Madison. You don't talk to anybody else until you get past me. So I'm like the gatekeeper. Yeah. I strictly deal with you guys as clients, getting you guys set up, letting you know the servicing options and programs we have, letting you know what we do and what we don't do. A lot of general questions come to me like, hey, Shante, I'm not sure what to do. I handle all the loan boarding and all the loan transfers on both sides. I handle a lot of stuff with your collateral files, even if it's just reviewing it, making sure everything's okay. I do a lot, but it's really so on the investor client side. Asset managers here that once your loan is boarded, your loan will be passed off, and they will be your point of contact for borrower outreach and loss mitigation. They'll call the borrower so you guys don't actually have to deal with that headache. That's kind of why we're here.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about that, because some people don't know how that really works. And when, what if the borrower doesn't pay after 30 days, 60 days? What happens at that point from your organization?
What we do is, because a lot of loans come in where borrowers haven't paid for like 7 years. I see that more often than I see performing loans. So what we do is we have asset managers. So once your loan is boarded, you'll get a lovely email from me letting you know that your loan successfully been boarded. We send them out a rest but hello letter, and it's really a package. It includes letting them know who we are as a servicer, letting them know who you guys are as a lender, since they are obligated to know that information, letting them know different options on how they're able to make payments, how they're able to ask questions, things like that. Your asset manager then will introduce themselves to you, and they will actually ask you what your game plan is on any loan that is not paying, whether it's 90 days or 6 years. They will ask you, hey, what options do you want to offer the borrower? Because we work for you. As much as you hire us, we work your instructions. So there's a whole bunch of different loss mitigation options, and as a lot of other people call them, exit strategies. We can walk you through all of them, let you know, the loan modifications, forbearance agreements, foreclosure if you absolutely have to, deed and lose, things like that. We can let you know the options. We will not and are not allowed to make those decisions for you. It is your investment. So you kind of have to be a part of it. It is, you spent money on that note, so you should be a part of it.
Right.
They come into the asset managers, then take your feedback. And if some investors come in and say, I don't care, just find out what the borrower wants to do. Great, perfect. So we will then start calling the borrower, trying to get a hold of them. We have door knock services that you can order to send someone physically to the property.
Oh, that's great.
We try to get a hold of them.
That's a powerful thing. Actually, I actually didn't know you had that service. Or maybe I had seen it in the past, but that's a really good service, because sometimes I can think of 2 other servicing companies that don't have that. And, you just kind of like keep sending letters, and what's going to happen?
It doesn't always work. The door knock service, our asset managers always ask after 30 days if they can't get a hold of somebody and they're not answering to letters or phone calls or emails, if we have their email address and stuff like that.
Right.
We ask you, do you guys want to send out a door knocker? This is what they do. A physical body goes to the property, knocks on that door. A lot of times we find out that property is vacant.
Right.
A lot of people don't know that.
So this is a question that someone might be thinking is, would the door knocker go on behalf of, would the investor, maybe they don't want to know their name, maybe the investor holding the note, hey, I don't want that borrower to know my name. Would it be like that, or do they go on behalf of Madison Management Service?
They go on behalf of Madison. The thing is that as an investor, your borrower has to know at least your entity name. So if you bought your loan under ABC LLC, that's what they know. They don't have to know, hey, it's Shante Duffy. They don't need to know your information. But they do know your entity name, because that stuff has to get recorded in the county anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's public knowledge at the end of the day.
Right.
They don't need to know who the face is behind that LLC.
Exactly. Yeah. That actually came up. It comes up more when some of my clients are dealing with. They think about the foreclosure process, and like you said earlier, some people are just not comfortable with doing that process, or even hearing about it and stuff like that. That's why managers are good in that situation. So, that's great. So you also mentioned about that you deal with also non-performing notes. I have a few people. I know there's some people watching that are interested in that. Like they might be just getting into notes, but they also have an interest in diving deeper. Could you share a little bit more about the non-performing notes?
Non-performing notes, I feel like, are a lot of investors' favorite things because it gives you the opportunity to work it out. Like I said, a lot of loans that haven't been paying for years, and it's just because the previous lenders haven't called. They didn't get a company to call. Some of these lenders don't know who to send a payment to after a while because they do transfer all the time.
Yeah.
The non-performing side, personally, is my favorite. I'm just kind of like the rest of you guys. I'm in the middle of trying to purchase my own notes. So I worked in the industry long enough. I feel like I should kind of have some. I'm not going anywhere, but I want to be an investor too. So non-performing side, it's always fun, in my opinion, because you get to try to work something out. It gives you the options to choose from exit strategies. It gives you the flexibility to offer anything to the borrower. Some investors buy these notes strictly for the property, and they want to get straight to foreclosure. That's a preference thing. It's not my preference. It's not a lot of the investors that I deal with. It's not a lot of their preference either. Everybody wants to work something out. Even if it's a forbearance agreement that's temporary for the next 2 years until they get to better financial situations. It all varies. There's people who strictly want performing loans, and that's okay too. People are always selling performing loans. You always see them. But I think non-performing is everyone's favorite because it gives you an opportunity to try. And it gives us a reason to work other than just collect payments. But it has its advantages and disadvantages. There's times where borrowers are just not responsive, and you're left with no other choice than to take legal action. Yeah. You can't work something out with them. And of course, nobody wants to. That is additional fees. That isn't charged just by Madison. It's charged by attorneys and things like that. But I personally think non-performing is the way to go, to at least try.
Yeah, so let's dive a little bit into that, because I'm going back a few years now when I first got into about 6 years when I first got into owner financing and the note business. And I've never asked you guys this question, but I'm sure someone's thinking of it, including myself. Does your company do you guys sell notes by any chance, non-performing? You do. Wow.
We have a sales platform where that we service for, and even investors that we don't service for. You can list your loans on our sales platform. The website is sales.madisonmanagement.net.
Okay.
So I will send you an email so you can blast that out as well. It lets you know that what's out there. People call in all the time saying, "Hey, I'm looking for non-performings," but they only want in certain states. I keep a list actually at my desk of certain criteria of certain people in case I come anything.
Wow. So I actually got a few clients in mind right now that have been trying to sell their notes. Are you saying yours is like a marketplace? They can list their notes as well for other?
And then people come in and buy.
Perfect.
You ask for information. Yep.
Perfect. Yeah, just to be clear, guys, I've never bought any non-performing from Madison before, so it's just and now that I think about it, when I dealt with another company, it just kind of makes sense. That's great. Yeah, that's great. That would be awesome. Now, what would you say? How often have you guys been doing that? Selling non-performing. Has it been a part of the business?
It's not our loans. They're not owned by Madison. They're owned by clients of ours. So it fluctuates. Like right now, we have this huge influx of people who are looking to buy, but I know where the influx is coming from. I do a few different webinars for different people. I'm always just trying to help. That's my job, is to help make your lives easier as investors. I know we've had a lot of traffic through it. There's also people who don't want to list their loans on that site, which is okay. It just takes a lot of networking. We haven't always had it. This is still fairly new to us, about 2 years, I think, going into 3 years. So it's new to us. It wasn't something that we always had since I was here, but I thought about it because everyone else is doing it. People always call me and ask. I'm like, I don't know. I want to send them somewhere else. I want one that they come to. Yeah. So we have had it, and it just fluctuates. It depends on if people want the states that they're in. They're all different stories. Some of them are REOs. Some people love REOs. Some people hate them. It just depends what you're in the market for. Some people list their performing loans up there. I had investors that, you know what, I want to get out of the industry, list my loans. And that's what we did. And he got a few of them, sold a few of them, still up there. It just depends what everyone's criteria is. Everyone's different. They have only X capital to spend in some situations. Sometimes deals fall through because they're JV partnerships, and not everybody agrees. So it does vary. It does definitely change.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, that's definitely an added value compared, just to the loan servicing side. It's definitely an added value to a lot of people that I know are watching this and thinking like, I need to sell my notes. Actually, I know 2 people right now that could use that service, and I know they've looked around, but they really need to take action on that and get with you guys. That's going to be important.
Yeah.
Could you dive into a little bit about the process? Let's say a performing note, brand new note, onboarding. I think that I know this comes up a lot, and I explain it a lot. That's the point of us getting on the video. Is what happens after the closing? That's a common question that comes up. So could you walk us through that process? Yeah.
So for newly originated loans, which automatically out of the gate should be labeled as performing because they are brand new. Let's say they have a due date for May 1st. It's always best to have your servicer lined up first before you even have anybody sign documentation.
Exactly. I need to stress that. I need to stress that part because it's not wait till later until after it's closed. Get with them early. Get with Madison. If you're watching this right now, you get with Madison right away.
It will take you, I promise, maybe 10 minutes to listen to me talk and give my spiel. When it comes to investors signing up, we set up a call. That's probably the best way to get in contact with me. Email, say, Shante, I need to talk, and I will run through my calendar because I get so many phone calls a day. I miss people left and right. It's insane. So I tell everybody to get your servicer lined up before you do anything. It doesn't cost you anything, at least with Madison. I can't speak for any other servicer. To set up, all it is a servicing agreement, a W-9, and a power of attorney. That's it. That's all that actually has to get your entity set here. At least when you are handling all your closing documentation, you can actually put Madison Management as where to send payments. A lot of people put their own entity name and then transfer it immediately.
Well, yeah, let me stop you right there. And that's the important part that I wanted to stress, because what's so important about that process, and it can get a lot of new people kind of tripped up. Like, okay, wait, does the first payment come to me? Is it going to the attorney? And I say, listen, if you just started off right with Madison, you won't have to worry about
any problems.
Payment to go and just get with them first. So yeah, sorry, just wanted to stress that. It's really important.
No, you're 1,010% right. A lot of things that gets misunderstood is that there's down payments or escrow balances that are advance, to start. And we don't get those a lot. And it becomes a fight between us and this lender because we should be getting them. If you want escrow services, which is where we collect enough money for the borrower's taxes and homeowner's insurance, you need to let us know. We need a copy of those bills. We can't set up without a copy of those bills. That's just point blank. Everybody hates it, but we can't set up something we don't know we're collecting.
Right.
So that is very important. Other than the servicing agreement and things like that, your entity is set up once you do that. And it'll be set up here, whether you bring a loan here, whether you don't, whether your loan has been paid off, it'll just be here forever. There's no cost to it. It's either you have active loans or you don't. The next step is we require all information. Now, all information includes the borrower's name, their mailing address, if it's going to be different than the property address. Some people it is, some people it's not. We require a social security number for your borrowers, and there are 2 major reasons why. I cannot board a loan without it, because we do report to a credit bureau, TransUnion. A lot of people who do seller finance, they want that.
Yes.
So that's number 1. I can't report anything if I don't have social. Number 2, we handle all tax reporting at the end of every year. So as an investor, you get a 1099. And as a homeowner, you get a 1098 with the interest that was paid on that loan for the past 12 months. So we can't generate those either, and we're obligated to give you those. So I cannot board a loan without a social. One thing that everyone seems to miss when they're doing seller finance is including that or getting that information. I don't know why they don't. I never created one, so I can't come from experience.
Well, I'll tell you why. I think some people who are maybe just getting started, who had never done owner financing before, they get a little nervous about asking for people's social security. And I kind of put the vision in their mind that just pretend you're a loan officer at a bank and you need to get all the documentation. If you've ever gone for a loan, you've passed over your social security to that loan officer. And it's the same here. You're basically their mortgage broker, their loan officer. So you need all that data. And that's
I tell people to print out a W-9, have them sign. A lot of people didn't realize that. I'm like, well, you kind of have to sign it for everything you do. I'm like, at least it's there, have that part of the closing documents if they have to complete that. So I've actually seen a lot of investors doing that after talking to them. We need all the property address information. So 123 Main Street in, Denville, New Jersey. We need the loan balances, the original loan amount, the principal balance, the interest rate, the note date, the maturity date. All of that is written in the note and closing documents, so it is there. We just require you to put it into some spreadsheet form because that's how we actually upload it into our system. Our system will take a CSV or a regular Excel spreadsheet, and we require that information. We have a spreadsheet that you can absolutely use. It's on our website if you're not sure. It's just, you have to remember there's only one person that handles loan boarding, and that's me. And I can't go through a billion loan documents as much as I would like to. I can't. And so it just kind of makes the time go a little bit faster to just be able to import those loans, make sure the data is there and import it. So once, that loan is boarded, again, you get that email from me, and it's still assigned to an asset manager who just says, hey, congratulations on your performing loan. I'm your point of contact. If you have questions, let me know. And then they call the borrower just to say, hey, I'm your asset manager. If you have questions, let me know. And just to put that relationship there, start to build that rapport between both parties.
Absolutely. That's great. That's great. Additional question for you is, during that process, some people would have been asked, like, how long does that typically take? Maybe for your organization, from, let's say, the time it closes or the onboarding process, what happens after the loan is onboarded, and, what happens on your end?
It depends.
Okay.
It truly, truly varies, and here's why. Number one, a lot of people, and this is where there's a little bit of a confusion. When they close on a loan, a lot of people, like I just had someone close at the end of March. It was like March 27th with a first due date of April 1st. There's no way that I'm getting that loan in there.
Right.
Here's why. I have to verify the information on that loan that you sent to me first. There's also a boarding fee that has to be paid before that loan hits our system.
Right.
Those are the two things that definitely hold things up. So one of it is on our end, and the other end is on you as a lender. That's why we ask if lenders fill out their ACH form. It'll go a lot faster. Granted, I got that loan boarded like by the 3rd, but it's just a matter of, do I have all the information up front? This lender happened to be set up on ACH, so it made that so much quicker. I verify the information. It was boarded, and he got his email by the 3rd.
I want to add two things to that, and I want to also add something to the ACH. First of all, most people, when they go for a mortgage, and no matter what day of the month they're closing on their home, that mortgage actually, it's almost like they get 1 month free in a way. The loan is usually not due till like 30 days later. And the reason why is specifically just like you're talking about, it's because the mortgage needs to be set up. So that typically happens in residential, when people are purchasing homes. So that is what you're talking about as well. Give that time, especially if you're right at the end of the month. There's no way that's going to happen 3 days later that a collection needs to take place.
But what happened is the borrower was on vacation and they couldn't sign the closing documents. So I'm like, well, we got to set for that. You usually know that. So.
Exactly. So I always recommend to people, give it some time, give them time, or, have a grace period in there. Just things come up. So especially for the loan to be boarded, I just remember when I was a mortgage broker, we always gave them that month. We always closed on a time where they had that extra month there, just to relieve any stress or anything like that. So, and the other thing I was going to mention, it just spaced out on me. That last part we were just talking about.
It'll come back to you.
Yeah, it'll come back.
But usually overall it doesn't take more than 14 days. And that's pushing it. As long as I have everything, max 14 days. That's the time window that I'm given for transfers from loans that are not newly originated. So we try to stick within that. It doesn't usually take 14 days. I try to get it done as soon as possible.
Great. Yeah, that's great. And the other thing was the ACH. Now, if you could explain that, because this comes up a bit, how do I get my, like any investor, how do I get my money and how does that happen? So, and talk about the benefits of the ACH and why it's important.
There's two reasons why we have people sign up on ACH. Number one is so your boarding fees and any other outstanding fees you have can be paid. Usually it's just the boarding fees on performing loans that actually gets paid from that ACH, like withdrawal from your account. But we have to somehow disperse your borrower's payments back to you. There's two options. We can send you a check, which
no, boo.
Nobody wants a check, or we can send it directly to your bank account through your ACH. Right. A lot more investors go for that bank account route because we do send you reports every month telling you what you're going to get. We deduct our servicing fees from the fund. So if your borrower has a $500 monthly payment and your servicing fee is $20, we'll deduct that $20 and send you $480. Mm-hmm. You'll see the breakdown. We will give you a report that shows like the check detail. This is total how much came in. This is what we're deducting. This is what's going into your account. It's clean. Yeah. The transaction history. It's so much easier to follow than waiting on a check. Checks then through the mail. We don't actually mail those checks out. They come directly from the bank. Yeah. So it's that, I guess, almost like a bill pay almost from understanding. I don't know. I don't handle that stuff.
Right.
A lot of people, once they're like, oh, ACH, it's just everything is so much smoother, so much quicker, so much faster.
And this brings up a great part where you say so much smoother. I know some people will say or vouch to even think about doing this yourself, managing your own notes.
No.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Please share if you have any experience with people.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, I know you got a few stories. Share.
I hear them all the time. I hear them almost weekly. I hate, and I'm being brutally honest with you like I would be with everybody else. Don't service your own loans. There's certain compliance rules that you by law have to follow. Mm-hmm. You don't have servicing software to track those payments and how the payments are supposed to be applied. You have a $500 payment with a 4% interest rate. Well, how much is going to interest and how much is going to principal?
That's right.
You don't how do you calculate that? We have software for that.
That's right.
Managers to manage that. I had an investor who we send out statements. We send out receipts on every statement. The next statement that follows shows your last payment made to the borrower. We had an investor I've had several investors who've gotten sued, and my heart breaks because they become family to me. I feel completely responsible for them. I love every investor I work with. But they call me, they're like, Shante, I did something wrong. Help me. I can't help you. I told you not to. You chose to not listen, but in trouble for there's certain states require a servicing license. There are certain states that require you as a lender to be licensed as a lender or a debt buyer. There are too many variables in this space for you to just try to do everything on your own. If your borrower requests a payoff, how do you generate a payoff? Right. Those figures are correct. You don't, unless you have servicing software and that's going to do it for you, which that is very expensive. You can't do it on your own. There's things that you have to follow, CFPB rules, RESPA guidelines, like everything. And that's why it's so important to have a servicer so you could stay within compliance on that. So that no borrower can call their attorney and say, oh, well, my lender doesn't do this for me. No, your servicer does though. So we take care of the brunt of that work for you.
And I like even from the start of the loan where it starts with you guys, you're on board, you're working with Madison right away, right from before the closing. That's really important. But even as you go along, if something happens during the performing loan, if you need to someone's not paying, you need to send out a letter demanding for payment, or you need a door knocker, Madison can handle all those things for you. They can handle that. It's a one-stop shop. Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. And I think what most investors think is maybe I'll save some money here. And listen, okay, Madison's, I think your prices are very reasonable for what you guys do. You guys call, you guys, you do the letters, you got the door knocking, you got these services, and you do a lot that is not, for the amount for the servicing fee, it's compared to the stress. Come on, you know what I'm saying? It's like the convenience, and let Madison do what they're good at, and you focus on what you're good at, and being an investor and going after the next deal. And I just want to stress that so much because it could be a nightmare and a headache, as you said.
In this industry, there's no shortcuts. There's no cheap way to do it. People who call all the time, they shop around for servicers, which by all means, everybody has different needs and wants. There's a lot of people who will call me and be like, you know what, Shante, like your fees are just, I'm not feeling it. They go somewhere else, but they come back and say, I need to transfer a loan. How do I do it? And I'm like, just you want to transfer? Like that's, you got to get the ball moving. And they realize that, you know, just because someone is cheaper doesn't mean you still get the same service.
Exactly.
The thing is customer service. And we're pretty good with fees compared to other servicers. You know, I just found servicers charging $1,500 a month minimum, whether you have a loan or 50 loans.
Yeah, very true. It's so true. I wanted to ask you a question that might come up is people may ask, because I deal with people all over the United States, do you service in what states do you service in?
Not all 50 states, not yet. We have been working very hard since I started. We've gotten a whole bunch of licenses since I started back in 2013. We're working our way up. We are in the states that we see a lot of people buying in. That's kind of how we gauge, you know, where is the next licensing. Licensing costs a ton of money. Yeah. We don't see a lot of loans in New Hampshire. Like it's just not, we don't see our clientele. We haven't run into anybody who's needed servicing in New Hampshire. Right. So it's not all 50 states. We do have a map on our website, madisonmanagement.net, that outlines where we're licensed and where we're not. I really think we're down to about like 8 states that we're not. We're working on all of those last 8 because we are, you know, reaching other people and realizing that they are buying in these states. So we see a lot of stuff come in for Texas, Illinois, Indiana, you know, Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas, you know, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, you know, there's definitely the whole bottom of the East Coast. Right. There's just, again, like some of those northeast areas, like New England area, you don't see too much.
It's not too much. Yeah.
The reason we wouldn't really have some is just because the licensing is so expensive, yet I never want to say no to an investor. And I promise you, if I can't service your loan, I will point you in the direction of someone who can, that if I had loans, I would send my loans to if I couldn't send them to Madison. I will never send you to someone that I can't stand. But we have also just ran into the situation where I had someone call me and they said, okay, I have 100 loans in this state. 100 loans is definitely worth that license because it'll pay for itself for the day, but they put all 100 here with more to come. We will go get that license. Right. Open to anything, but those are, you know, a lot of bigger clients. But one of our, you know, visions and missions here is no portfolio is too big or too small. Whether you have 1 loan or 1,000 loans, you're still welcome here at Madison. We don't want to put a cap on anybody. You know, everyone has to learn somewhere. And what makes us a little bit different from what I'm told is that we do a little bit more hand-holding. So we deal with a lot of brand new to the note investing world, whether they are doing seller finance or they're purchasing non-performing assets. Right. We hold your hand. We understand what it's like to start. You know, Kevin started that way too. And so we will point you in the right direction, help you with everything you can, let you know what you can and can't do legally. That's kind of what makes us stand out a little bit different, is that we are here to help and you shouldn't be afraid. I have people who don't even have loans with us that call me and, hey, with you, I have a few questions. Okay. Right. You know, and they just try to help, and that's why we're here. That's kind of why you need us.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point. And thank you for sharing that, because like I said, even before any of my clients, if they have or about to get a loan and they're about to close on a deal, call in advance, introduce yourself. Hey, this is what's going on. I'm about to close. What do I need to be prepared for this closing? And make sure you have all the documentation and ready to go. So it's better to call Shante before the deal even closes. Yeah. And she can help you get set up and ready to go. So that's crucial right there. Absolutely. Great. Well, Shante, you shared a lot of great information here. And I love the fact that you said that, you know, your company is flexible. You're ready to work with it. And that's why I enjoy working with you guys as well, because, you know, when I first came into the industry, I was with a company that I was brand new. So I needed someone who was willing to work with me before I started working with you guys. And I like that even for, you know, my viewers and my audience who can, you know, maybe not know all the details, but you guys are willing to help out and walk people through the process, as well as do even bigger stuff. That's fantastic. Yeah, great. So I'll ask you, is there anything that we missed or that we should someone should definitely know about this process with you guys? One
thing I tell everybody is that it's not, I know I just spewed a lot and gave you a lot of information. it's not as hard as you think it is. I think people get scared. From the investors I deal with, the new ones especially, that are like, this is my first note, what do? They panic. Don't panic. It's not as scary as you think. You have to remember, this is an investment. There is a risk, but with a right servicer, you're okay. We will make things work. Not every loan you have is going to be a winning situation. Seller finance are great because out of the gate, they are performing. A lot of people are very attracted to them. I'm one of them. But it's not as scary. It's not as hard. You can ask 1,000,010 questions. Our job is to answer those questions. You should know. The whole point is that we want to get you to a point where you know what the right way to service a loan is.
That's right.
The right way to contact a borrower. We all have to sit in training every year. I don't even talk to borrowers. So I have to sit in training and know who I can and can't talk to, who I can and can't release information to. How do I verify who I'm speaking with? There's certain things that we have to go through training every year that you guys don't necessarily think. I just promise you, it's really not that scary. All it takes is send me an email. Nathan, you can give out my email. Send me an email and say, I want to set up a call, even if it's just general questions. I have my calendar stacked every day. I will make time for you, whatever time works. If I have to call you from home, I will call you from home. I'm pretty flexible with that. I literally work almost 7 days a week. I'm in the office 6 out of those 7. This is like my second child. I already have one. Yeah. So I will do anything to make your lives as investors as easy and smooth as possible. That's the goal for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very true. What she's saying is that it feels like she does work all the time, and she's very knowledgeable. I know I've been seeing you on some other interviews and podcasts, and that's great. Shante is got a wealth of knowledge, and she's hungry to help as well, which is really important in this business. So yes, thank you so much, Shante, for also being here and giving your information here. And as well, I will put your contact information in this video so people can reach out to you and get set up and onboarded with your company. That'd be great.
Do it. I love people.
Great. Awesome.
If you ever need anything, don't hesitate. No problem. Thank you.
All right.